Hi, this is Tara, and you're checking out Tea Time with Tara. This week's episode is with a very special guest. His story is really incredible, honestly. I actually followed him after hearing him on somebody else's podcast probably at least a year ago, and we've been in touch ever since. And so he has actually introduced me to a few of my podcast guests, and he's just a great guy, and I really loved talking to him because I've had the people that he has introduced me to on the show, and I hadn't had him yet. But I was on his show, and I believe I shared that. Probably have to share it again just because. But anyway, enjoy. Hi, Mario. Welcome to my show, finally.
Yeah, finally, look, we're chasing each other for some time now, and I'm so grateful and very thankful to be on your podcast, Tara. Tea Time with Tara.
Yes, thank you so much for doing this, and honestly for connecting me with so many people. I feel like I've thanked you several episodes now because
No need,
you've
Tara.
linked
You
me up
deserve
with
this.
so many
You deserve
people.
this, Tara. Yeah. Look, we're
Thank
going
you.
on a long time, like an old married couple, like maybe a year ago now we know each other. So and thing it is, I truly believe that people I introduce you and vice versa. It's there is a reason, and so thank you. Thank you. Don't need to say thank you many times, so that's okay. Thank you.
All right, but I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
So the reason that I started following you, so this is, I won't get into like the whole backstory, but I discovered you from someone else's podcast.
Okay.
And I started following you on Instagram, I believe, specifically because your story is so interesting.
Oh, thank you, Tara. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And
Appreciate it.
well, yeah, like because you have overcome so much. And can you tell me a little bit about it, whatever you're comfortable with?
Yeah, absolutely. I first of all admire your chat. I was listening who you spoke with and who did you interview and everything. You need to cut this one. It was my phone ringing. I don't know how my phone is ringing.
Okay.
Anyway, so start again. So look, it's I forgot it. Seriously, you can leave this one. This is what's happening to podcasting when you try to prepare everything and then at the end of the day you make so many hiccups and mistakes, which can be corrected.
Okay.
But leave it. This is the very sexy part. Me doing mistake. So yeah, look, I think you always come back to the story of everybody from the back rather than from the beginning, because everybody likes. Like in my life experience, when I was working in government sector in intelligence, counterintelligence, they taught us how to catch the liar instead of following somebody a timeline. I was born that day and start from the start. Today, I'm very grateful that I'm first of all on your chat and being with somebody like yourself who's extremely busy and have tremendous guests. It's a true privilege. Secondly. As for myself, I see myself as a humble man. Always try to be humble man, and despite people try to portray me this way or that way, I don't care. I'm the father of one, and I'm the business owner of several successful businesses related around intelligence and counterintelligence, and running my podcast, Life the Battlefield. Today, I'm here only and exclusively because of the hardship in life, like everybody else. So, my life was very simple. In terms of lifestyle, I was little crook, little thug criminal, end up in juvie when I was age of 13, and nobody told me to do things, what I did, and I stabbed a man with a screwdriver twice at the age of 13, and being in communist society, I think somehow I paved the path, to the prison, long time prison for myself, because that was only I knew it.
Right.
And then look, I think that everything else was the reason, the fate, or whatever you want to call this. My parents eventually kicked me out because they saw me as a big burden for themselves. And age 14 on Christmas Eve, they told me literally fuck off. And it's like, well, it's cold out. It's a winter 10 degrees below. Remember, it's snowing. My father was a very drunk. He was a typical communist product. Next year we're gonna conquer America. England. They're like, long live the
Wait, and
style.
where were you living at this point?
Yugoslavia, Yugoslavia was
Yugoslavia, yeah.
It was ordinary communist country, and you don't know nothing better. Like I really, Tara can't say, from time to time somebody will come from overseas, and because after Tito died in 1980s, the borders have become very loose, so people can travel more. But you have no money to travel, so.
Right.
But those who traveled, they brought us some magazines. We were like, oh my God! I remember my what's it called, headmistress in school. She traveled in US 1984 or 5, and to see the family and so for since Second World War end up. And she told us, like in America have this, and we were like all like, we all want to go on Venice Beach, in California. So, 86, my parents kicked me out. My grandfather was gratefully was passing that evening, that fateful evening. My grandfather was the second man of the secret police in Yugoslavia. Took me under his umbrella, told me, listen, you little fucking, nobody wants you, nobody loves you except me. And it's like, well, that's nothing new. And what happened next, my grandfather, put me under his roof with his wife. And 7-8 months later, I was end up in military school, in naval military school at age 14. That was a communism normal, that's, you go in high school and in
I
military
cannot
school.
even imagine.
Yeah, and I really like, I can't enroll, Tara. Like, I was just, my grades was so shit, man. I think I couldn't get a job even cleaning McDonald's toilets for that at that stage. And he vouched for me, as old communist and, same military school. Fast track, as you know, Yugoslavia, the people of the communist countries decide, take the burden of the communism, and democracy was welcome. Yugoslavia was the last one standing intact, but the nationalism was brewing, and Croatia says enough. We want independence, we want democracy, we don't want to be the part of federal system in all this communism, blah blah blah. And war started, and that's how I started my career.
So crazy to think of you, like, because my son is 15,
Yes.
and I just cannot wrap my head around my child being in a situation like that. And
No
what do you
child should
think
be
that?
tired.
No, absolutely not. What do you think that did to you as a person? Like, how did that impact you?
Well, look, from my side, like I was having a double lifestyle. Like I was like sort of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde in sense, because while I was going to primary school, I was a little criminal on street. I was an altar boy as well. So like the priest I was servicing in the church, I was welcomed by him, and he hugged me and welcomed me, and he done the best to show me the love. But once when I went in military school, that was a different situation, because I got responsibility, accountability. I need to finish this. Even I didn't finish to the end because the war broke out. So the thing is, things were different at that stage. But I found myself to belong to something. Even I always say to people, be careful what you wish for, because I always wanted to be the general.
Yeah.
like a kid. But then you become the soldier, and you're preparing yourself, and at age 14 you getting the obligation that you wake up every day 6 o'clock in the morning, you get all this food, great gear, best equipment, everything else. You being in the office and in the military in Yugoslavia, in communism is like whoa, whoa. And I found myself like loving this thing, although I couldn't understand that bullshit about socialism and communism. I try to understand, because you have all these different lines of proletariats, socialists, the communists, this agenda, that agenda. Everybody's our enemy. Everybody, it's our enemy. Even the animals is the enemy of communism. The Russia Eastern Bloc was our enemy. So it was hard for me, but it's that sense of belonging to the core was a one thing,
Right.
and then we broke out. I wake up on a fateful 14th of July, 1991. I wake up in the morning after crying a river night before. I was drunk because my girlfriend dumped me. And seriously, it was just like, I could not believe it. Anyway, I was 18. She was 15, 16, something like this. So it was allowed. It was not underage. Let me understand. Like, when we start dating each other. So like how it is, like it's the first goal, first sex, everything else,
Yeah.
and suddenly we are stopping seeing each other because something's happening in Yugoslavia. And I wake up 14th of July 1991. Somebody was banging on the door, and I opened the door. I said, "Where's my parents?" I just tried to understand. And there was military police on the door, saying like, "Comrade Bekes, by decree of the Social Federative Republic of Yugoslavia Federal Army, you are, need to report to army barracks, immediately, war situation." Something like, what? I'm still crying in my dreams, like,
Right.
so I was 18 years old, and I said, okay, I took that letter, and I walked in a unit, and I found that piece of paper. My mom wrote it because my dad, despite being the greatest communist on the planet, my mom, he know how to write and read, but my mom, she knew it, so she wrote the message, "We're okay." And I was like, what the fuck? That means we're okay, and then as I was walking downstairs, the first shell started breaking down on the concrete, and I saw that my friends till today become my biggest enemy because they belong to the different establishment, different nationality, religion. Yeah, so that was a funny start. That was a funny start. I'm gonna be like a Rambo, man. Man. It wasn't like this. I was doing more Crimea River than anything else. Because I was suffering, Tara. Like, I was like,
no, I know, but just Crimea River.
but it's like, you can understand on that stage. There was no internet. There was no, there was nothing. There was a one channel on TV, one channel.
Yeah.
And I know that my girlfriend, she left in Serbia, right? And the Serbia entire Federation of Yugoslavia attacking my state, my country, Republic of Croatia. And then, suddenly one thing leads to another. Like I've been sent to the quick crash. They call it crash course for the special units. So like, whoa, man, 7 days, all these kumbaya, exercises, and we just, and then like 7 days later, I've been sent to the front line, and first thing, as we were approaching to the village which was occupied, they opened the door of the armored personnel vehicle, and they said like, run out. And as I ran out, there was enemy soldier, like, falling in front of us, like, as when you open the door and somebody runs towards you dying, falling enemy soldier. I was like, oh my God, mom, where is my mom? And yeah, like, I was 18 and a half years old. And my first day in a combat was started and lasted for 1,800 consecutive days. So that was
my goodness.
Yeah, that was it. And as well, Crimea River for my girlfriend. I couldn't find her. I was writing the letters. That was the best part. The people don't understand. I think that everything in life, whatever happened to us, I can say now because I'm 50 years old. If I look my life now, life by design, it's full of obstacles in unpredictable situations. People in our life, I'm more grateful to people who come in my life. They taught me the lesson than people in my life who just love me for who I am. Because I think it's very valuable to learn that what I learned in the war, let's just say, on a man behavior, and on a man social behavior in a war, like the guys I was afraid of because they're tough and rough guys. Tara, can you imagine the man dressed as a woman and runs from his city not to fight? I said to myself, the only kids left, between 18 to 20 and 65 plus men. Everything between is gone. And it's like, where's everybody? Because they're afraid. So like, nobody can impress me anymore with those BS stories, the bullshit stories. When you wake up in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, man, you're just going to gym, just exercise, man. The life is just don't be afraid. I was afraid. I think that being afraid is okay, particularly in war.
Yeah.
Even now, Tara, and I congratulate every woman like yourself who gives the birth, because if I need to give the birth, I think I'll be biggest coward. I'll cry before the giving birth and after. Because
it's awful. I hate
so
it.
it's like the women had more courage than the men. I'm telling you this right now. I saw the women in war who fought the war. They have a lot of courage, more courage than the men. I used to be look very high, like because they were tough, rough guys. And most of those
Hmm.
guys who are the big and rough and tough, they are, crying and, they will escape situation because, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 5 years later, I was in military in a war and, being wounded a few times, I mean, I learned that the bullet, when the bullet hits you and you've been stabbed or, all these things can hurt. It's not like in the movies, like, yeah, man, give me the smoke. And,
Right.
yeah, I was crying, I was like,
I mean, can't blame you.
mm. That was it. It's like I wasn't expecting my life. As I said, like you see your son 15 years old. I see my son is 20 years old, and when I see him, I do remember I was 20 years old when I was second time wounded. Yeah, and
Hmm.
it when I see my son, I see myself. I said like it was how I was really looking like him. That smooth skin and that all this. But it was life. I mean, life gave me the what I deserve, and I need to deal with that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's amazing to me that you have come out the other side of that as strong and kind and um vulnerable, like able to be vulnerable and all of those things, because the strength, there's so much strength in that vulnerability, which you were talking about, like being able to say I'm scared even in those situations, and just acknowledging that that's how you feel. I mean, you can't suppress that forever because
No,
eventually it's going to burst
look,
out of you, right?
yeah. So look, I just said this. People talk about stress-free environment. I think that I realized one thing before every action. There was anxiety, there was a stress, I mean, but it's not like chronic stress like people have today, like every day after day. It was not malignant. I truly believe
Hmm.
that stress is a good for person to understand because you want to achieve some results, like
Right.
tea time with Tara. I mean, you want your successful podcast, of course you're stressed. It's gonna be good sound, gonna be good image, everything else. That's normal. Like the fear, it's normal.
Hmm.
And nobody can convince me the fear it's bad because Tara, look, in hindsight everybody can go public and tell the story to people how to live the life, but one thing everybody forgets what I learned when I was in Intelligence Academy. And you heard this expression before, like no one shoe size fits all, right?
Right.
What is my formula for success doesn't necessarily need to be yours. And I always
Hmm.
come to my son was suffering from epilepsy for 12 years, and then
Mm.
then we cured that one eventually. Then he become diabetes, and I can see in his eyes life looks very different. And I said to
Hmm.
him, look, I can't tell you what my life was good or bad, or you, Tara, but you're inspiration, Tara, as well for the other people. I'm seeing your post, and I'm inviting you, please check the Tara Facebook page, Tea Time with Tara. The bravery, I say always, takes the courage to be the coward, Tara. Believe me or
Yeah.
not, because people can bullshit so many things that they will, that they will hide behind their lies because they're cowards. So, the war make me better man. I can't say make me better, make me harder to kill. Yes, did make me. That is one thing. But I say everybody, when you wake up in the morning, you don't need to change your life for nobody. You need to change your life for yourself. In military,
Yes.
there's a reasons why everything is regimental and everything's been, done for me. In 98, when I eventually thought, 96, I said to myself, I was married first time, and my father was passed away, and I found out that my wife, she's pregnant with somebody else on the funeral. Anyway, long story short, la 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 la. I said to myself, it's enough of the army. I want to step it out. I want to dedicate myself to that marriage, whatever. I mean, and
Right.
what happened in that stage, um, I always want to see what's the life look like on the other side of the planet. Anyway, a few months later, I was in a coffee shop with a good friend of mine because we work in military intelligence security services. And comes this beautiful lady, with 4 men in black, literally men in black, 96, midsummer, right? And she comes to my table, like, and I was like, oh my God, look at this chick, man. We were like, me and him were like all saliva, like, just fucking imagine, like 24 years old, like, oh, we know everything, I mean, we are national heroes. But, I was working every day in a different service in military after, because war ended up in 95. And she comes to me, she says to me, you must be Mario. I was like, but I was more worried about these guys around her because, it's the criminals, whatever they are, I mean, I don't
Right.
know. Because organized crime with the war simultaneously grows two things. The organized crime grows, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what's it calling? The white collar crime. So organized crime, white collar crime, two things are growing with the war always. And she says to me, this is envelope I want to see you on a Monday. I said, like, you want to see me, baby? You know who I am, like, was calling like my plan. And she says, I know who you are. Open the envelope later on. Anyway, make a long story short, following Monday, I was on a train to Capital City to have the interview with my future boss. And I was in 2 years later, I was in Foreign Affairs, Directorate 7. Then it was called Directorate 7, which was a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Security Intelligence, and Counterintelligence Services. That was the
Mm-hmm.
official name. And 98, I stepped out of military on the 1st of June. 6 months later, I was on a plane to Australia. I said, like, God, why Australia? I said to my boss, I said, like, how far away that it is? Did you see the map? It's like we're going to, like a Captain Jack Sparrow, end of the world. I mean, it's going to fall down. So yeah, like, I come to Australia, and then I was 5 years in diplomacy here. I decided to stay. So that was my part. I mean, at age 30, I was ready. 16 years in military, government services, and everything else. And I was a little bit
Yeah.
tired. I was a little bit tired. And you
Oh,
know how
a
things
little
goes.
bit.
But look, I just wanted, because democracy is one thing. When you fight for democracy, people take democracy very for the granted.
Oh,
They
yes.
shouldn't. They shouldn't. And they should do different things. But I said, like, again, I always believe that people need to experience the life on themselves. I don't feel self-pity for nobody. Only thing when I can see the people fighting for life, it's people like yourself. And having kids, it's a one thing. Mother of my child, I admire her for what she done, what she did, what she's still doing for our kid.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've always said, come back to one thing. Doesn't matter what in life you're being served, take it this with the pride. You can swallow when you want one bit, or you can chew it. Doesn't matter what you do, it's gonna pass. And one thing it's certain for all of us, and I admire you for this, Tara. I tell you what that it is. Life, it's very short, and people come and go. And one thing that everybody forgets, that to do it, except doing the coffees and let's go do drinking and partying. Tara, what you're doing with this podcast right now, and I'm inviting everybody, all of you, you're creating the legacy. One day when we go somewhere, who knows where, your kids, my grandkids, gonna say, look at my grandfather with a Tara like a 60 years ago on the internet, right? They understand. Takes the balls, takes the courage for this, what you're doing. And for that, you don't need the gurus, you don't need the business coaches, lifestyle coaches, whatever it is. You need the Tara. And that's what the Tara makes you unique, creating legacy to this podcast one day in the
Thank
future.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I mean, I'm doing it partially because of them. I mean, my kids my kids have been my reason for everything, you know.
Yeah.
My kids are what keep me going when I feel like I can't anymore. I mean, there have been times when I've been so depressed and I mean, even recently with everything that I have going on with my health and in my personal life, I reached a really, really low point where I was like, maybe I everyone would just be better if I wasn't around. And
Don't
and
don't
then
don't
I
think that way.
Of
Don't think
course, of
that way.
course.
Yeah.
But like
You
I thought about my kids and I was
yeah.
like, no, no way. They need me. And I'm doing this. I'm doing what I'm doing to help other people. And if I don't do this, then I'm not reaching those people anymore. And so, I mean, I want my kids to see that you can go through a bunch of shit and You can be really fucked up from it.
Yeah, no,
But
you're
you
right there.
can still be a good person. You can still have a good life. And I mean, those are the things that everyone that comes on this show has in common, right? Everybody has been through some shit. No matter who can relate to whose story, there's always somebody out there that can relate to someone. And it's so important for us to talk about that, to show that vulnerability of this was my pain,
Mm.
and I took that pain. What do you say you turn it, what do you say?
Well,
um
cry me river.
you
Yeah, no.
no, you say oh my gosh,
Look, I just gonna say
victor,
one.
not victim.
Yeah, no, for making to Victor. Look, it's like you can admire to look. It's easy to be critique, right? In my life,
Hmm.
I tell you something. Um, 90. Anyway, my parents, I saw the very first time in 93. My parents lost both of them. They lost a job because government said during the war, you can be whatever you want, but once per month you need to report to the factory or the workplace where you are. You know what I mean? Because you need to save the count and all these things. My parents disappeared.
Hmm.
I didn't know where they are. Anyway, eventually they arrived in 93. My mom, she stayed without job, so she's been sacked. You know what I mean? Because she wasn't reporting and nothing else. So I asked in military. I was 21 years old, and I asked in military to give her job. They gave her job. My mom, she started working in reserve army to do cleaning the kitchens, all these things. Anyway, making those things very very simple. My mom, she started stealing from the military and being caught. And my
Ugh,
mom, somehow they connected her with me. So like they didn't know what to do with me. They knew that I wasn't involved with these things, but she cares my surname, and I'm working in the state government security
right,
services. Anyway, they demoted me. They demoted me, like from lieutenant to the soldier. I can't explain it to you. Like, nobody does this. I mean, it's not like a dirty dozen take at your rank and you go and it was worse, than this. But it's okay to be, you know, not okay, Tara. It's
right.
okay not to be okay. You same as well as you do. If somebody says to me that, I was only the bravest guy. Yeah, I was the bravest guy once when the action started, but I had a more doubtful moments in my life, more fear in my bones. And, you know, when I just give example, like, they told us we need to jump from the plane. You know what that means, jumping from the plane? Yeah, it's cool when you watch it from down. Okay, yeah, but
No.
we need to do the 5 jumps. It's a static line, which means, your parachute is attached to the line and they push you out and automatically open for you. Everything just blah.
Oh
Anyway, we
my
are all in
goodness.
the air screaming, like, we're supposed to be silent. It's supposed to be silent assassins. And it was in the air. Once we reached the ground, what I mean, like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't break my legs. Thank God. Anyway, everybody was so brave and touched the ground. But the
Hmm.
reality is, Tara, I tell you, we all see each other trousers, and everybody pissed the trousers. Everybody, except one guy who's naturally be crazy. I mean, he enjoyed. And but we skipped that part. I mean, like, we went out in the city. We're bravest guys. So what I try to
Yeah.
say to you, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to
Yeah.
fail. Failing in life, I think it's decision what you're gonna do with this. Same with emotions. Emotions then cannot be quantified good or bad. Emotions, they have no color, smell. They're just emotions. It's hurting our brain somehow. But what we decide to do with this, an example, like, I'm an expert. I was like, as if I have a subscription based type, relationship. Every time was being dumped, dump. And every time I was like, oh, my
You
life
had
is
a
like,
subscription.
well, it is like, like I'm in love. And, then she says to me, that tragic thing was always like, don't make me to call 10 guys will be here to replace us. So like, I have nobody to call, not even the fire brigades, I have no mobile phone. But anyway, I think it is. So, I was hurt, I decided to be hurt, but then I realized myself, okay, let me stand on a ball and see what the life has for me. And the only time when I ventured out of my comfort zone, which everybody needs to do, and that's what the Tea Time with Tara podcast is, something I really enjoy. And I really admire for this because you step it out of comfort zone to do podcasting, to talk to people, to produce, to edit, to share around. Well, hello, Dolce Gabbana. You know what I mean? How many people can do this? Everybody can say, oh, your podcast is good or bad. No, no. Your podcast is freaking awesome. Why? Because you're doing what most of people don't doing.
Yeah.
Makes
Thank
sense?
you.
You're
Thanks.
welcome, man.
Yeah, totally. I mean, again, it's really all about just
Yeah.
opening ourselves up, and I know that there are people out there that don't agree with what I say or what I'm doing, and I'm not doing it for those people. I'm not doing it for those people. There are people who this will help, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm doing it. If people want to judge me based on something that I say on here, so be it.
Good luck to
Talk
them.
to me about it. Yeah. I mean, we can
Tara,
talk about
you
it. Maybe, you know, maybe I can learn something new. I'm open to that. But at the end of the day, you know, it's about the people that this really matters to. Fuck everyone
how
else.
you can learn something from somebody who doesn't do things what you do. And this is always a starting. I mean, when I was particularly when I was in counterintelligence services in foreign affairs, all
Hmm.
my bosses over there, like, they all like have this murky background, I mean, and it's like, how are you gonna learn something? There's no book, for the espionage. You're learning as a craft of the start as a senior person, right?
Hmm.
And there's some books, I mean, and it's like, okay, so like, when I'm gonna start learning, they told me, well, you the moment you walk the door, it's a lessons to be given to you, and I'm like, come on, man. So, but learning from them was okay. But imagine I coming to you, Tara, and say like, you as a mother, you should do this and this and this. Nah, I'm not a mother. I don't know nothing about
I tell you
motherhood.
to fuck off.
Hey, congratulations. No, seriously. That's what it is. So every time when you get your podcast out and you have, let's just say, 100 people listening to your podcast, 100 people. Imagine now the room full of 100 people coming day for Tara podcast. That's what it is, success. And you know what it is? What I'm admiring you. You're not afraid to say that you don't feel well. You have a low esteem, or some days are not great. It's a fucking
Hmm.
normal, man. Imagine being the fucking
Yeah.
Iron Man every day.
Yeah, I mean everybody, and that's why I do it. That's why I say, like, I know that I have done a lot of work to
Mm,
overcome all of the stuff that I've been through.
yeah.
I've done so much work, and I do so much work every day.
Yes.
But there are certain things that you won't know how to deal with
Yeah.
until you're put in a certain situation. And
Yes.
then you learn something new about yourself.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not a great thing that you learn about yourself. Sometimes you do something shitty, and then you have to look, well, why did I do that? That's
Yeah.
not really the kind of person I want to be.
Yeah.
And so it's all a process.
Look, as I say to you, I admire you for what you do, and I mean, I really, really enjoying talking to you, Tara, because it's like takes the courage. This is the courage to you put your face and your look and your voice and your environment and your life and everything around the people on display. And as I said, like, all these guys, I'm listening to them every day. When they say, things what they say, you don't need to go in school. You're just gonna be successful. Bullshit. I mean, like, if you're not in school, how do you know? Just, just saying, right? I'm sorry. This is my phone. I was like, just like do myself.
Yeah, I mean, success looks different for everyone. Everyone's path is different, and excuse me, I think that it's important for us to just embrace that, for everybody to embrace that their journey is different, because their path is like their, I don't want to say destination, because uh,
No, you
I
said it
don't feel
well.
like there is a destination. It's
Can can I promote myself for the second? I mean, so I done recently
of course.
on YouTube video called the success or something related to success, and you're absolutely right, Tara. You're the second person to tell me this thing. A few weeks ago, I went with my son, heartbroken. I mean, like, of course, so like, let's go a couple of days away. I mean, without
Yeah.
money. And anyway, he said, "Can I bring my friend?" And I said, "Who's your friend?" Tim. Okay, Tim. Tim is as well heartbroken. I said, "Okay, doesn't matter. We have I rented the unit. I mean, it's a 4-bedroom unit. The guys can sleep anyway, they can be together, and I can do my drones and daydreaming, whatever it is. Anyway, so like, And I said to him, what you studying? He said like quantum physics or something, like a little Einstein, literally. Like the guy, he's
Oh
really,
my goodness.
really lecturing, I mean, I was like, God. Anyway, I said to him, can you make me equation for success? And he looked at me like, with those eyes, the kid's 20s old, like this. 21, he's a 21, 1 year older than my son, like these big eyes. He said, Mr. Biggs. I said, like, oh, just call me Mario, right? Don't worry, I'm paying for the unit anyway, so don't worry. He says to me, I can make it any equation, but can you define to me what is for you success? And I'm like, yeah, well, I want to be like better than Joe Rogan, just say, right? Figure of speech, right? He says to me, So what Joe Rogan has, what you don't have. And I was like, come on, he become complicating more and more elements, more this, new things into this equation. He says to you, see, nobody has the same definition of success. Somebody's success is I don't know, 5 people following, somebody 5 million, somebody to be the handsome, somebody do this. So you're absolutely right, Tara. For that, I really admire you now, because he said something what this boy told me. We all had a different definition of success in our life. So
Yeah.
well done.
I mean, for me, success is just continuing on this path and learning and growing and being happy and helping people. That's what success looks like for me, to provide for my kids, to make sure that my kids feel happy and supported and loved and all of the good things. Those are the things that define success for me.
Yeah.
Not like how much money I'm making necessarily, although that obviously helps.
Look, money is good.
Makes
but,
things easier, but it's not everything.
Look, one thing about money, like people are like, my father always said to me, money is the root of all evils. It's like, because we don't have nothing, I mean, we have nothing, just like always complaining and bitching. But you're absolutely right, I truly believe that only one prerequisite in life for every success, every joy in a life, or whatever you want to call it, it's a health. And as long as you're healthy, I believe that everything is possible. And I can quantify this because I spent many years in hospital around my son, with that epilepsy thing, and there was a much more worse cases than my son, and those parents, I know how they felt, because parents talk to parents, and I said to myself, the only kids what they want is a health, and they have a dreaming, and I think myself like, why all this money if I can't see my son one day enjoy, let's go say something, so that's the beauty part. So yeah, Tara, you're absolutely spot on.
Yeah, especially when we have kids. I think obviously once you become a parent, at least most people, your child becomes the center of your universe.
Absolutely.
And
look, daddy can be anybody. Only one mother can be. Daddy can be anybody in the world. But mother, and as I say, like I see my son, doesn't matter. I'm the father, but as I say, like the mother, it represents everything. And you know what? I'm happy seeing every child close to the mom, because what mom can do for the child, daddy can't even dream about. And I can guarantee you this, it's 100% sure. And that's what is your biggest engine, Tara, your kids.
Well, there's actually a quote. I believe it's mother is God in the eyes of a child.
Yeah, I heard that one. Yes, yeah.
And
that's like,
it's I see it. I see it in my kids all the time. Even when they're awful. And I
don't worry, they're gonna become even worse more.
I know. Well, it's like I spaced it out really nice. So I have a teenager and a toddler, and I'm just pulling my hair out because one of them is moody because he's so cool and he's got stuff going on, and I'm not cool. I'm the least cool mom. And then my daughter, she treats me like this is a prison if I don't let her watch her iPad while she eats breakfast. And it's like, hello, do you have any idea about anything? And then so I'm like, that's fine. We don't have to talk. You can be upset. And she'll say something mean like, I don't like living here. And then I'm like, okay, do you want to go live somewhere else? And she goes, no, I'm sorry.
No, that's that's a kid, and that's like I always come back to this. See, you're smiling at the end of the day. You're smiling because our parents didn't know nothing better, and
Mm-hmm.
they live the life as they live. But say you and I have the opportunity, and I mean, giving those kids the different life. When I took my son,
Exactly.
I think two years ago, he tricked me. He says, "I want to see your tattoo artist." I said, like, well, okay. And he said, "I just want to ask him how to do something." So okay. Anyway, I left him for 10 minutes, and I'm lying 10, 15 minutes, and the guy was already doing it. And it's like, "What are you doing, Matteo?" He has this Truman Show the stairs at the end of the movie, right? And I said to him, Matteo, if I told my father to don't want to do tattoo, my father will break me the all furniture on my back, right? So I tried to say I was laughing because he tricked me into this bullshit, story. And I really believe generally he's gonna just ask the question, right? And no, he didn't, he's actually he done tattoo. So like, Tara, you're a good
Mm-hmm.
mother, and are you smiling? That's the best part.
Well, I mean, it shows when you talk about your son too. That's the thing that lights us up. It really is that love. And when I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter,
Mm.
I was like, I can't imagine loving another human being as much as I love my son. Like
Yeah.
he is the center of my universe, the love of my life. He's everything.
Yes.
And then I had my daughter and it all made sense. It's
Yeah.
so and it's different. It's different. I love them differently because they are different people and they have
Yes.
different needs and all of that. But like being able to recognize that, like I was scared. I was truly afraid that I wasn't going to love my own baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I guess maybe that even just the fact that I gave enough of a shit to be worried about that like is a little ridiculous,
Yeah.
but it's like we have an unlimited capacity to love as human
Correct.
beings.
Correct. Yes.
And so whether it's our own children or our friends or romantic partners
Yes.
or even just strangers, you can do so much with if you act with love. And I know that sounds kind of like all you need is love, blah blah blah. No, that's not it, but it helps.
You look, I truly believe that you're absolutely in a good track. With all this bullshit in my life, and don't take me wrong. It's not that I'm not proud. I'm proud that I was fighting for the freedom and democracy. But
Right.
one thing I realized that love, it is universal, universal
Hmm.
force, right? With driving all of us into some direction. And do you remember as a kid, your first time you fall in love, you could, or second time, whatever you can remember, but let's just say your teenager's age, that you had
Hmm.
that feeling you can fly, like literally you can fly, everything is possible. But that's a love, it is,
Yeah.
that people don't understand. Like, it's easy to hate, it's always easier to be negative than positive, and it's easier to be something different than being the guy. I often say to my employees in my work, my business, it's like, guys, don't forget to ask each other, how are you? You know what I mean? Even if you don't mean
Hmm.
it, just ask, that simple question. And if someone needs to talk, we're gonna talk. So Tara, I truly admire you for who you are. The way how you think, of course, I mean, that's what I try to say. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, just those small acts of kindness, the caring. I mean, um, what you just said about asking somebody how they're doing. So many people are used to just saying, "Hi, how are you?" and not
Mm,
really thinking about the fact that the person might answer that in any other
yeah.
way other than saying good. Well, what
Yeah.
if I'm not okay? Then what? The person is going to be like, huh, "Gotta go." They're going to run in the other direction.
No, because
But
I
like,
think, yeah, yeah.
well, how do you what do you do about that? Like if I guess it
Yeah,
depends on
because
the
we all we
circumstances,
all we
right?
all we all forgetting one thing, that we are all not made of titanium, and the brain, it's like a velcro, right? It's he
Hmm.
attach all negativity, and it's like a teflon reflecting all positivity. That's the normal, it's our brain. I realized that most of my time in my life, when I was saying to people that I don't feel well, everything else, they ask you generally question, how are you, they try to help you. And I
Hmm.
understand they're always in a rush, but I help myself. People need to
Yeah.
sit and ask the simple question themselves in the mirror. What do you want? The only person who never gonna lie, it's yourself. That's most honest,
Mm-hmm.
truthful person. And I've always said to people, just talk to yourself in the mirror. Ask yourself in the mirror, what do you want? Because nobody has a magic wand. Like if I had a magic wand, I will do some things, but nothing for me. I'll make it for the world. But this is not the way how things functioning. But when you start talking to yourself positive way, I mean, and I
Mm-hmm.
know, again, I know it's a cliche, but how many times I was walking somewhere and say, oh, I'm rich, I'm successful. I'm just like, whoa, man, I have no money for coffee, seriously. But I was talking to myself, and then
Yeah.
somehow this universe comes back with some offerings, and you becoming, have that for one coffee per day, not maybe two, but not maybe the best one, maybe McDonald's one's the cheapest one, but it's moving. But nobody
Yeah.
will buy me coffee every day, nobody. But
Yeah. I mean, those affirmations, the positive affirmations. I was just speaking with one of my friends about how it can feel kind of weird and uncomfortable, especially when you're somebody who's used to having negative
yeah,
self-talk.
yeah,
Um, but another friend of mine was being really supportive and encouraging.
mhm.
And he said something like, oh, I'm losing it. Oh no. I hate having ADHD. I can't remember. Like I had a thought and it was
No,
gone
that's
already.
okay. So, like, affirmations are good, Tara. You spoke to your friend, you know what I mean?
That, yes, thank you. So he was saying to like encouraging me to remind myself that I'm not always going to feel this way.
Yeah,
It's not always going to be like this. This is temporary. Every
yeah,
second, every moment of our lives is temporary. Every feeling that we
yeah,
have is
yeah,
not going to last forever.
yeah,
And so, even if that's the kind of affirmation that you need in that moment, it can be as simple as I'm not going to feel like this forever.
yeah,
This is temporary, or I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Even the smallest bit of that reassurance from yourself can make such a big difference. So it
difference,
doesn't
yes.
have to be these like big grandiose things that you're saying. I mean, although eventually that's the goal, to continue to
Yeah, yeah.
manifest and work towards that. But starting right low, like I'm going to make it through today. I'm going to be okay today.
That's a good start. Like, as
Mhm.
I say, you can't imagine when you walk in a children's hospital, right? And when you see, and answer, like, for many years, I was walking there because Mateo need to stay for a couple of days, so, do MRIs and all these EEGs and blah, blah, blah. And you're sitting there, and I said to myself, there's a good expression. Only health person has so many wishes, and
Mhm.
healthy has only one. And the mind, if mind becomes unhealthy, then that's becoming the problem. And look, we don't design our life. The worst thing is designing life towards somebody else, and that was me. Like, I think I can make the book the manual being ass like a pleaser, you know what I mean, and try to fit myself, my little big ass, like a jukebox, amongst everybody, just so everybody loves me. And then I realize, like, I'm so fat, you know what I mean, like I can't even go there. And I decided to say, okay, like, I can't fit in all these people. I'm not a jar on hotel. I can't make everybody happy. I'm gonna do my way. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
need to start learning to live with myself in my decisions, and that, I'm gonna be under scrutiny and people not like me, whatever it is. I don't care. You know why? Because when I go to my GP and she does my blood pressure, I say, oh baby, it's hot. It's still all good. You know what I mean? She's no cholesterol, and I mean all these things. But I've jokes on the side, but I'm happy that way, Tara. But thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you the other thing that my friend told me earlier today was what people think of you is none of your business. And I mean, you're not wrong.
Other people opinion, it's not your reality, Tara. Nobody lives your
Yeah,
life. You care about your
exactly.
kids. You're working. You're going through your obstacles. I mean, you're facing life on daily basis. So who
Yeah,
has the right to tell you how to live your life? And that's I say, like, I'm admiring
exactly.
all this kumbaya, people going there, walking to the fire and everything else for 2 hours, paying $150, $200. Somebody tells them, you are the great dude. Don't repeat these things.
No.
Be a little
Yeah.
bit Tara. You know what I mean? And live with the 2 kids, ADHD. Shuffling all this life. That's the art. Art is not wake up in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and pretending you're doing something on social media. It's like, oh, I'm such an entrepreneur. My crypto is growing. Stop it. Tara
Mm-hmm.
wakes up in the morning, kids, and that's what I'm admiring the people when they have their life by design to give themselves to the people love the most, like your case, your children.
Right. And my friends and my family too. And
Yeah.
like that, I've struggled a lot in my life in with friendships because of the fact that I'm so used to giving everything to my kids. And I've been a mom since I was 20. So even before my daughter came along, it was everything. My entire focus is on my kids. And then sometimes it's hard to have the capacity, to have the
Yeah.
energy to really even have the what's it called, the thought or the
Yeah.
wherewithal to reach out to people, to check in on people and see how they're doing and make sure that they're doing okay. Sometimes I just am so consumed by what's happening around me every day that when I finally get to see somebody
Yes.
that's not causing the chaos, it's like, ugh,
Yeah.
I just throw it at them and I don't think
Yeah.
about how that's going to affect them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that now I'm learning about myself. And so what do I do about that? Well, I need to focus on myself. I need to take better care of myself, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm learning because all these other people are not going to do anything for me. They're not doing anything
Yeah.
for me. They're not paying my bills. They're not, they're not coming here and helping me
Yes.
do anything in my house. They don't live here. They're not helping me raise my kids, blah, blah,
Mm.
blah, all of that. I am.
Yes.
And so who needs to be taking care of me? I do.
Yes. And that's a
So,
set to tell. You see what did you say? Very important thing is you are the teacher to other people, including me. Your life experience is a teaching rest of us how to live the
mhm.
life as well. And as I say to you, don't hesitate to show more of your knowledge, of your experience, life experience. There's so many people who's gonna relate themselves to you. Your cat must be hungry. Must be upset there.
I know what is happening.
That's okay.
I don't know. I don't even know which one that was. They're all
I don't
so
need to
so
let you go
noisy.
anyway. The cat he's trying to signal it's a time to let it go, Tara. So
I
that's good.
know. Yeah, we've been talking for like an hour. So,
Yes.
thank you
We'll
so
talk again.
much again
You're
for
welcome.
doing this. I do want to ask you, sir, will you please stop it? Um, what's one thing that you would like to leave the listeners with?
You're good enough. You're good enough. You don't need to fit nobody's life or nobody's agendas or whatever it is. You're good enough. That's what I'm trying to say to people. Don't think that you're not good enough. You're good enough for this world, for this life. There's a purpose in your life. No one, but multiple purposes in your life. So smile, be healthy, and remember, you are good enough.
Yeah, thank you. That's
You're
really
welcome.
beautiful, and it's a very what a guy, right? He is just the best. I hope that you enjoyed that episode. Other than that, the only update that I have is that I will be starting to do live episodes regularly on Wednesdays. So it'll be Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Not sure what my topic will be just yet. I had an idea and I didn't write it down, so I lost it because, ADHD brain. I'm sure it'll come back to me. Just give me some time. Um, I will be doing some collaborations coming up for on other people's podcasts. So once I have the details hashed out and when it's going to be, I will share that. But that's it, really. As always, follow me on Instagram if you don't already at teatime.with.tara. follow me on Facebook. I think it's Tea Time with Tara podcast. I don't really ever update shit on Twitter. I guess I should do that. But it's all my social media are on my website, which is teatimewithtara.com. There is a contact me page there, but you can also just email me directly. It is tara@teatimewithtara.com. That's it. As always, thank you for checking out Tea Time with Tara. Stay tuned and stay